Okay, so we're going into how the X-Men and all that is freaking designed in terms of personalities that balance each other out, or in the case of Wolverine and Cyclops, they fight each other to the point that they develop each other's own personal stigmas. How do you guys go about doing that and creating your own worlds and stuff? Do you purposely make characters that counteract each other like that, or build each other up? Everybody here's an author.
Oh.
Well, you're kind of setting my mind on when I had to develop the character of Elizabeth. Now, originally the story was going to be a game. I can't afford actors, so I had some friends say, yeah, I'll do the voice. So I was making characters based on their personalities because they were going to do the voice. That way, when we recorded it would sound natural. Anyway, when I realized I couldn't go that far, and when I started going, okay, I'll make this a book, a big part of that was the character of Elizabeth, Haley's best friend. I'm sitting there thinking of all the people I know and trying to shoehorn personalities into spaces where they don't belong. And I'm like, this just doesn't work. I'm just going to let the characters be who they need to be. And and Elizabeth kind of developed as a balance to Haley. It's like Haley is a little more she's a little more withdrawn than Elizabeth. Elizabeth is very outgoing and assertive, where Haley is like the go with the flow type. So pretty much I gave her kind of opposite personality traits that didn't really conflict, to where they kind of complement each other. They kind of balance out each other's shortcomings.
Yeah, and that was one of the interesting things with X-Men, is because previous to X-Men, you would kind of create a character and you had to come up with that one character's background and everything else. And they were just like, we're tired of coming up with backgrounds. Let's just put a bunch of people with different personalities together, give them some interesting mutant powers and stuff, and see where we go. And so,
yeah, you also have to keep in mind your end goal, what story you're trying to say too. Depends on what characters you're going to make.
Story and tone are both vital too.
Sound random. Pinky and the Brain is like a very specific story. It would not work if it didn't have those two characters in contrast to each other. You could not tell that story any other way. You couldn't have two brain type people. You couldn't have two Pinky. You need a Pinky and a Brain. Yeah.
Yep.
They're Pinky. They're Pinky and the Brain.
And the Animaniacs is a beautiful example of how characters can hold their own story. There's episodes where they just mash up the characters together and see what stories that the characters come up with. They just hold their own.
Is this
is the John Lasseter movie, because we were talking about John Lasseter a little earlier.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So this is supposed to be good?
Yeah, this came out a while ago. I haven't checked it out, but this is what he's been working on.
Oh, okay. I remember seeing kind of like a trailer for this, and I was like, oh, it's a Pixar wannabe, but that makes sense. It is, those originals.
So I wonder if we can watch this trailer without getting pegged.
Turn down the music.
I would pause every 10 seconds. And
yeah, there's some secret, you just got to...
That's what they do, is they play and pause.
And pause it, yeah. That's what other YouTubers do.
Or zoom in. I think you could zoom in on one certain spot.
Good luck to us both.
So it's probably obviously already available. Talking over it helps, of course.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this before. How old is it?
It came out last year.
It's Apple exclusive, I think. I think it came out on Apple only, because Apple's trying to do their own thing.
Skydance.
So that's Lasseter's. Is that his studio when he started Skydance?
No, he got hired and picked him up. I believe it's actually an Apple studio.
Flushed it down the toilet. You just talked. Wait! I just need another penny.
Move.
I'm already digging this too.
Okay. See, I haven't even watched this trailer myself.
Where's here?
the land of luck.
I'll leave as soon as you
The land
get
of
me
luck.
another lucky penny.
You best start blending in.
Hello.
I don't have Apple TV. Is there a way to like rent these things?
I'm sure there's a way to get your
It's not
hands
on
it.
Apple exclusive.
A dragon?
You might be able to get it if you have an Apple phone, but I
that
don't
luck here
because I
too?
don't care.
These expressions.
I have an apple I need to
lot
eat before it
more
goes
like
bad.
the
That's about
older-
it.
Down our entire operation.
What was that, Otter?
These expressions, they kind of evoke a lot of the older Pixar movies, just like The Incredibles. That's like the first thing that comes to my mind.
There's a lot of eye, a
Yeah,
lot more
they
eye
do.
expressions. They go
They
eye.
definitely didn't have the budget
It's
for the
not.
fur though. On the
These
cat.
aren't cold and dead like recent Disney flicks.
Yeah.
Pixar definitely had a better budget, but it still looks all right.
Yeah, but budget isn't everything.
See the fur? That's what I'm talking about. The fur on the cat. Look at the fur on the cat compared to the fur on the cat on Toy Story 4.
Yeah. And it's all storyline and jokes. That's all you're seeing.
Yeah.
Storyline and jokes, no message.
Good.
Yeah,
Wow,
so that's out there, folks.
That certainly looks like fun.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of that. I'd watch it.
Yeah.
Minimal
Me
marketing.
too.
All right, what's going on in the comments over here? Let's see.
As far as I don't know, I don't want to drop spoilers, but as far as this type of characters who are kind of ice and lava, let's say. Yeah, I always wanted to make something similar to the good cop and the bad cop, but not super similar to the older kind of sitcom types that you know, if you've watched them, and I don't know who among you read about Mac, whom I introduced in the second book, and of course Boris, and they even though both of them are I mean, they are both anti-authority, even though one of them is considered a lawman. But it's on a varying degree, and then their character traits and their different cultures are constantly colliding. Though they have to find a way to work together, and it's probably one of the greatest duos in the series. I mean, I'm trying not to drop spoilers because it's you know.
At least from what little I read, it's a weird dichotomy between the two because in a lot of ways I think they're both very similar personality types.
Yes.
They're both very hard-headed, very forward
similar.
and go-getters. But the thing is, they're so similar that because of that, they often end up butting heads.
Interesting. All right. I know the way I kind of approach characters. I know Wrangler, you've obviously been reading up on my characters lately. Because I focus solely on short stories right now. I focus pretty much most of the character developments in dialogue, or I'll focus on maybe one instead of multiple. My latest story was around 11,000 words, so I had actually a pretty large roster of characters, and my main struggle was trying to actually flesh each of them out distinctly enough, while not overblowing the reader with a lot of dialogue. So I actually leaned heavily, because you said about like Maji, your question was about while using world building. And I used a lot of cultural background, who already knew who, that's who they talked to mostly. And if they interacted with somebody else that's from another culture, the interactions would be swift, they would be brief, but you'd kind of get a lot from it. Like, oh, they are heavily divided, do not understand each other. They tolerate each other, but they're clearly very alienated from each other, kind of vibes. And then try to compact that as much as possible. And then when it hits the third act, use all the character developments to drive the action, if you will, and also get them into some shenanigans based off of the characters that I made them out to be.
Gotcha. That's kind of cool, actually.
It's one of those cases where good world building can actually end up non-verbally reinforcing a character without a word of dialogue being spoken. That's one of the beautiful things about it, because culture or world building is conveyed through certain characters, and if those characters are part of the same faction, what often applies to one person often applies to the other as well. So those common factors can really end up giving you an idea of who that person is even before they've spoken a word. Once they start speaking, that's when they're really starting to become their own person. That's where you can add a lot of the little details that make them who they are.
The speaking part is probably one of the more nuanced. And then if you do your research, it's you can use it to great effect. No, I'm really trying not to drop any spoilers, but it's I've kind of developed a specific jargon for, let's say, the bikers, which Maki is part of, and I had lots of fun. It's also part of the world building, as you mentioned, and it's Jesus, it's so hard talking about it.
Especially at what, like 1 a.m. where you are?
3.
3?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
It is late.